Hi everyone, my name is Reese Boyd and I have week two's chapter 1 and 12 homework support for questions 13 through 16 on our quiz. So I'm just going to get into that now. On the left side, I have our book, and on the right side, I have our questions just because um, then we can just compare and contrast. It's pretty straightforward from our reading. So let's get into it. So first we have our income statement for the business. And that's pretty straightforward as this. It's basically a copy and paste. It does have some additional expenses that we'll get into, but it is basically just copy and paste. So first off, as mentioned in the book, it's the entire month for income and for statement of retained earnings. That way we both know that's what's the thing. And then for the balance, it's just for the one day. So then we have, just like this, revenues. Click on revenues. And then we have underneath revenues on this, we have consulting and revenue and rental revenue, sorry, excuse me. And when looking at the thing, we actually do not have a rental revenue. However, we do have a consulting revenue. So let's put that in. And then I'm going to be putting in the numbers later. And then we have the total revenue that we have to click on. So this one would be, oh, oh, I guess it automatically does it. Some of them don't. So that's why I was just clicking on that. But okay, then we have the expenses next. So scroll down, expenses. Click on that. And then we do actually have an additional expenses other than just the rent and the salaries, but let's first put in rent and salaries. Rent, and then salaries, and then I believe we have two other ones. So we have the telephone, and then we also have the miscellaneous. Nope, not that. Apparently it does not like me. Miscellaneous. Okay. So then to find the numbers, I'm just gonna enlarge this really fast because it's easier. You just go up and you find what you need. So like consulting revenue is 18,650 to 18,650. When you press enter, it automatically does the total revenues for you. And then we got to make sure we got all the expenses. So we have cash. All of that is going to be in our other ones. And then we have rent, salaries, telephone, and miscellaneous. So we did get them all. So let's just plug in those numbers really fast. So then the rent expense is not a 4,920. 4,920. And then our salaries expense is 8,500, 8,500. And then our telephone expense is 890 and the miscellaneous expense is 700. So 890 and then 700. And that automatically counts it out. Now we do have to do the total. Let's put it back here. We do have to figure out the total, and it's called the net income. So the net income. And then how we do this is like shown in our book, we subtract the total revenues from the total expenses. So here's my little trusty calculator. Oh, I guess 18,650 minus 15,010. So then it's 3,600 and 40. Okay, nope. 3,640. Press enter. And then if you did want to check this, there is that check button in the corner. Check my work, check it, and then you can see what you did right and what you did wrong. and it says answer is complete and correct. So now we can move on to the next question, which actually does reference some of these. So keep in mind that 3640 because it does reference the next one in that. So then we have the statement of retained earnings. So it automatically has a 0 on the input. Perfect. And then again, we need the whole month, not just part of the month, because it starts from December 1st. Then we have the net income, which is 3640. And that automatically switches it up for you. And then we have, just like over here, the dividends, which let's scroll up and figure that out. Cash dividends is 3,490. And then it automatically subtracts the two for you. So our end goal would be 150. And then it needs to be retained earnings for December 31st because it has to be the entire month. And so this is, so you wouldn't want it to say retained earnings on the first because we already have that at 0. So that's all plugged in. And again, you can check your work just to make sure you did it right and your calculations are right. Moving on, we have the last question, and it's creating a balance sheet. Now, this one is a little bit different than the other ones because it's only for a specific day. As in our reading, we only are going to do it for the 31st. So make sure we click on that, just December 31st, because it's just that balance sheet for that day, and it's not for the entire month like the other two. Then we have this one would be assets, and this one would be liability. And this one would be equity. So I'm just going to plug those in really fast right now. I'm going to move this so you guys can kind of see what I'm actually quoting. But yes, that's all plugged in. Now, again, like in the other slides, there are some adds and there are some takeaways that aren't actually in the original, but we can, let's just put it all in, I guess. So the assets, as we've told in our books, so then let's just put it in. We have cash, we have supplies, which is just office supplies, we have office equipment, and then we have some other things. And as stated in the book, assets also include accounts receivable. And that's because we own that receivable. We will either be giving cash or we'll be giving equivalent to that of what we need to receive from other people. It's something that will be coming to us. We will own in the near future at the very least. And then we got to make sure we got this also. Oh, nope, not that. Common stock, no. No, land is also another one that we own. So it's one of our assets. Miscellaneous, so I think, okay, so that's all of them. And then we have to click total assets, just like we have over here, total assets. And it will automatically count that out for us. So let's see here. The cash is 6,650. Then we have office supplies, which is 4,640. Then we have office equipment, which is stated at 19,500. Oh. And then accounts receivable and land. So accounts receivable is 18,650. And then we have land, which is 46,000. So that's all of our assets. So let's move on to liabilities. So first in our liabilities, we have accounts payable. And then let's see what else. What else would we have for the, I think that's all for our liabilities, but I could be wrong. Um, and then let's just do iniquity, equity while we're just here. Sorry, I pronounced that wrong. So we have the common stock, and then we have our retained earnings, which it's just 150, which we found on the earlier page. Ooh, not that. That one's just 150. We figured that one out on another page. And then we have, this one's total, as stated over here, total liabilities and equity. And then we have, so that's perfect. Okay. Total equity. Huh. Okay. Um, okay, so for our accounts, a payable is 9,890. So let's plug that number in. 9,890. And then we have for our common stock, we have a total of 85,460. Believe that's all for this page. We can just quickly check my work just to make sure I got it all. So yeah, I'm hoping I did. Oh, apparently that number is wrong. Office equipment. Hmm. Okay, so let's figure out what I did wrong on that one. Huh. Oh, it's 560. Sorry. That's what I did wrong. Okay, so we just returned to question and we put in the 560 and then we'll see that it's actually correct. Enter. So check my work. And then all of the numbers are correct and everything. That is how you do the income, the statement of that's how you do the income statement, the statement of retained earnings, and the balance sheet for these questions. If you have any questions, please let me know. You guys have a great night.